Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Veg Networking Canada. We are a community where vegan plant-based companies connect and collaborate. It is important we honor, acknowledge, and respect that many of us are located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. Today, we have a special guest with us, a world traveler with a flair for music and adventure, a champion for mindful eating and culinary mastery, showcasing resilient leadership to nourish ourselves and the planet. Veg Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the founder of Pachavega Living Foods Education. Welcome, Danielle Arsenault.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you. So happy to be here. Very excited.
Thank you for sure. Can you tell everybody listening what led you to go vegan?
Wow. It's funny because I get this question asked a lot, and there's the story of the question, but then there's the evolution of my why. And the story goes, something like when I was 17, my friend went vegetarian. I thought she was cool, so I did it too. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s, I was rock climbing in Mexico, and I discovered People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I went to one of their conferences and I was shocked into the behind the scenes of the factory farming industry. And right then and there, I just said, I do not want to have anything to do with this. And if it's going to be my choices and how I live my life and go about what I choose to endorse, the practices I believe in, I just said, absolutely not. Like, this is not something that I think should happen. And so, yeah, I think 2006, it was like 16, 17 years ago, I became vegan. Um, and that also included giving away leather and feathers and all of that kind of stuff, and really going kind of in a pure form of what it meant to be vegan. And so, why did I do it? It was, I guess, for the animals originally, but I don't feel like that's my now why. Even though I love animals absolutely with all my heart, and I have a cat, and I still stand believing that, animals should not be exploited for our own gain. But for me, it's really about health and personal mastery, and sort of the impact that I leave on the planet, or sort of the impact that I leave with the choices that I make, and how that affects everyone and everything on the planet, including animals, including the environment. And for me, being vegan is it's the way, like it is the way that makes most sense to me, in how I wish to see my values play out in the world. And also, it's really important. It's not just vegan for me, it's also healthy, right? Healthy, whole foods, plant-based. And so I'm not eating junk food. I don't eat processed food. So just if something says vegan, it doesn't mean that I'm going to eat it. But I'm very conscious of the backstory of the food that I put in my body. So that's my why now. And yeah, and I'm going to be like this forever.
Well, 16, 17 years is definitely a long time, not a short time at least. And it's interesting to hear. It's so cool to have different conversations with different people because most of us, I think, can appreciate that we've heard, well, at first it was for my health, and then once I learned what I learned, it's for the animals. But like to hear the difference is cool, and there's no right, there's no wrong. That's awesome. Now, switching gears into away from personal and I guess to a little bit more business, which for a lot of entrepreneurs, there is a lot of personal reasons why you get into business. But for you, what is the start of your entrepreneurial spirit or spark?
I was probably five or four or two, but it's been with me forever. Teaching is a passion of mine, and so that was the foundation of pretty much everything I've done my entire life. Is I've been a teacher in some form or another. So whether that is, teaching my little brother how to make a princess Lego castle, or teaching people how to rock climb. I've been a cave guide. Also, athletics have played a big part in my whole journey as a vegan, as well as what I bring in my business is that this holistic aspect of fitness as well. Um, I just feel like, yeah, as a teacher, um, being an entrepreneur was easy, but it was so many different things that I dabbled in. So I once made a line of perfume, so like essential oil perfumes. I had a t-shirt collection. I also made poetry books and sold them on the street. So the whole vibe of being an entrepreneur and sort of making my own way in the world has always been there. I taught English as a second language for many years in different countries, South Korea, Mexico, and I wasn't, I could tell that the longer that I taught English as a second language, I could tell that my passion for this subject matter of what I was teaching was kind of waning. I wasn't really passionate about teaching English to people who didn't understand English. It didn't spark joy in me, but I really was enjoying my like side life. I was rock climbing a ton. Um, this was giving me a lot of motivation, getting super strong as a vegan and showing people basically around me that I could be like a super strong person who didn't eat any animal products for protein. And that was a big motivator to me. And then it just dawned on me one day. A friend of mine said, "Hey, raw food, something, something." And I was like, "Raw food? Like you don't cook anything? That's super weird." But as I went down the rabbit hole and started to look about what exactly was raw food. Okay, it was living food, and it wasn't just salads. I could have raw pizza and raw lasagna, and not only that, but I started to discover that these foods could be absolutely delicious. And so it was very clear to me that I was going to become a chef. So I went back to school, I became a raw food chef, and then I got my first raw food chef job, and I didn't enjoy it because I wasn't teaching. I was in the kitchen making the food, and all I wanted to do was like tell the people that were eating it, that were over there. I was like, "Oh, did you know that turmeric is really anti-inflammatory, and if you mix it with pepper, it can help you lower inflammation in the body? And did you know that cilantro can chelate heavy metals and help detoxify the body?" And my boss was angry at me. My boss didn't want me talking to the people. She was like, "Get back in the kitchen. That's not your role. Get back into the kitchen." And that was when I knew that I had to combine this growing passion for healthy whole foods with my teaching ability. And so after I became a raw food chef, I also went and studied at the Ann Wigmore Institute in Puerto Rico, which was an experience that catalyzed my Pachavega as it exists now. Pachavega Living Foods Education came out of the idea that wholesome sprouts, fermented foods, food that could trap the sun's energy and deliver it to my body. But what I noticed there, that it was very simple food and, for lack of a better word, boring, and it wasn't going to be sustainable for the majority of the population. And I was into food. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be tasty. I wanted it to be exciting. And I learned how to make a lot of food when I was in South Korea. My neighbor and we started knocking on each other's doors, asking for like a pinch of this, a dash of that. And we ended up writing a 4-book cookbook series called The Kitchens of Pinch and Dash. And that was a vegan, gluten-free cookbook series that I published back in 2012. And from there, that was everything. I knew that I needed to teach people that vegan food could be fun, it could be healthy, it could be delicious, and it could heal your body on a cellular level. And so basically what I do is I bridge the gap between the healthy food that we all know we should eat and the deliciousness, because this is a big missing piece, is that people know they need to eat this way, but they can't find the recipes or the inspiration to actually like take that bite and go, "Oh my God, this is the most mouth-watering pesto zucchini noodle with olive spread pate that I've ever tried in my life." And so it became my mission to teach people that the food that you put in your mouth and you fuel your body with can heal your body. It can build your health versus the opposite, which is what a lot of, North American, Center American diet, a lot of people in the world are eating food that harms us, that depletes our health. And so also as like an athlete, that was the distinguishing change that I wanted to show people, was like, okay, I'm an athlete and I'm vegan, but I'm healthy vegan. I'm not junk food vegan. I'm not eating potato chips and Oreo cookies and, highly processed fake meats. I'm making whole foods taste amazing that make people really excited.
Well, thanks a lot because now I'm drooling and salivating over zucchini noodles, pesto, all of tapenade and all that good stuff. So well, actually first, you mentioned teaching and education is basically in your DNA, in your blood from early. It's in the name of your business, education.
Yeah.
Living foods, that speaks to the obvious, the raw, the power of healing, all of that. What is Pachavega?
So Pachavega is like a combo word that I created. So it's a coined trademark name. It comes from the word of Pachamama, which is the Quechua word, the South American indigenous language, and it means Mother Earth. And here where I live in Nicaragua, they speak a lot about Pachamama as like, the provider of our food, of our existence. And then Vega was like vegan, vegetable, vegetarian, that sort of the humble vegetable. So combining this idea of Mother Earth and vegetable, and then that's where the name came out of. And then it had to be Pachavega what? Pachavega something, Pachavega Living Foods Education. Because also early on in my journey, I also noticed the distinction between raw foods and living foods. And like raw foods can be, raw pieces of meat. They can also be like raw almonds. And I'm really talking about living foods, like foods that are alive with nutrition and enzymes and energy. And so, yeah. And then, like you said, the education piece is that's what I'm all about, is to share this information with people.
Okay, I have to divert off course a little bit from the questions based on what you just said. If it's okay, if you'll humor me and us and talk. Very interesting, the distinction between living foods and raw food. What are you going to say to somebody who says, well, foods are living, like don't they feel pain?
Well, they don't have a central nervous system, so they don't actually feel pain. Um, but I don't know, anything is possible and all things are possible. But choosing a plant-based whole foods diet is the least damaging form of diet choice on the planet. So, maybe, yeah, we can even go deeper into that. Like if you look at a lot of import export like industries, like the cacao industry, the bananas, the avocados, there's problems with every industry. So I always say like once something becomes popular, there's a propensity to exploit it. So there's exploitation like all over the food industry, all over the world, no matter what it is, but including animals. I mean, we exploit animals, and they are living creatures who do have feelings, who do have a central nervous system, who do cry if you take their children away from them. And yes, there is deeper science that can maybe prove on a different level that animals feel pain too, and they have connection and they can communicate with each other from far away. But at the end of the day, we still have to eat something. And so what is the choice that we want to make that is in alignment with our values? Like I have the value to not eat animals, but I can eat plants according to my values. And also when I eat plants, I don't just grab them and shove them in my mouth. I say, hey, plant, like, thank you so much for your nourishment. I'm going to take you if you don't mind. Can I take you and can I eat you? And sort of have that like brief conversation, whether or not that's, depending on what you believe, if that's doing anything or not. But yeah, that would be my answer.
Well, thank you for humoring me. I just know maybe some people might be thinking of that as they're listening to this. And so where is Pachavega Living Foods Education going in the future? What's going on with your brand?
Super exciting stuff. So I founded Pachavega in 2013. So we're on year 11 now. And I have a very comprehensive, one of the most comprehensive online raw food chef training programs in the world, in person, raw food chef certification course, which I call it the raw food chef residency program. So people come here to Nicaragua for 30 days and they take a super in-depth deep dive into the world of living foods. But not only that, we touch on holistic healing modalities. So we talk about our sleep, fitness, about our mental space, about mindfulness, negative self-talk, really trying to, when people come to me, I want them to have a transformation. So if we just do food, it's like limited, subtle, and maybe not such a huge transformation. But when we also enter and allow people to speak of their traumas, and we allow people to be vulnerable, and we allow people to give themselves self-love. And we start with feeding them this foundation of food that's going to heal their body. Like transformations are inevitable. And so, so exciting because since the beginning of Pachavega, to do my in-person courses, I've rented out resorts, Airbnbs. I've never had my own space. And finally, so 2 years ago, I bought a big piece of land here in Nicaragua, and I've built my home on it. So I have my house, a small little humble home. And next year, I'm going to be building Pachavega brick and mortar, Pachavega plant-based culinary school. So the Pachavega plant-based culinary school will have space for 12 students at a time. I'm going to be doing my 30-day program, which is the signature program that I've taught 31 times now. But also having the opportunity to offer other types of retreats, shorter retreats, shorter courses, themed programs. Really, like my imagination is already exploding with all that I could do, which sometimes overwhelms me. But I just procured another piece of land that's actually my neighbor. Well, it's mine now, but it was my neighbor's. And so now I can have cabins. And so this was kind of the missing link, because ever since I started hosting these retreats, people would always stay with me on site. And my new business model, because I didn't have enough space on the land that I bought, was going to be, it's like school. You find your own accommodation and then you come to school in the morning and then you go back at home. But what I've noticed over time is that most of the people that come to me, I will say like 80% of them come to my courses not to be chefs, but to heal their body, do it for them, make healthy food for their family. They're ready for a change. Maybe they're empty nesters and it's like time for them finally. And then the 20% are younger and typically always women, younger people wanting to make a career out of it. So while I bought this land, I was actually in the middle of a training. And so I consulted with the students and I said, so what do you think? Like, should I go for it, or should I save this money and like build the kitchen right away, build the school? And they were like, oh, we have to stay on site. Like they were like, I couldn't imagine having to walk here in the morning. Like I get tired in the afternoon. I'm so grateful I can walk 30 steps and have a nap in my hammock outside my room. And I realized right there, like, oh yeah, what am I thinking? Like if I separated those things, like it would change my whole business model, which works really good right now. So why would I want to change it? Plus, when you're coming to Nicaragua, which it has, a tumultuous history, as well as many people that come to me are like first time travelers, like never traveled alone before. They're making like a big leap coming to a country that they don't speak the language. And so for me, it's like this all-inclusive experience where I literally will pick you up at the airport and bring you to the facility. And the space is in a container that I create and curate to have the entire experience like controlled more or less, right, within reason. But once you let people stay at other places, like there's parties and there's dogs and there's like who knows what they can encounter. So so the next move is finding a lot of people to come join my programs, so I have the money in order to build the school kitchen and the cabins to house the students. And I'm so excited about it all because I already have like the designs in my head, and my kitchen is already completely designed. Yeah, I'm just waiting on more money, and then it's go time. I even have the bricks already. They're already hanging out at my house. 6,500 bricks in a big, big pile.
Literally brick and mortar. That's
Yeah.
That's really, really, really exciting. And we're thrilled for you. And what you're describing too, that container that you're describing, I would say like the two words that come to mind are safety and comfort
Yeah.
for people,
Yeah.
right? So that's could be
Yeah.
priceless for a lot of people, right?
It really is. Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is. Yeah. And
yeah.
then like I also do retreats not here. Like I'm doing a mini retreat in Canada in Toronto area in the fall, because my parents are on Vancouver Island. Like I've always have in my mind to do a program there, but it's a lot of logistics because there's a lot of gear. Like I have like dehydrators and Vitamixes and plates and like special molds and like special like tools and all of these things. So like logistically, it's challenging, and that's why I'm like really, really excited to finally have a home base here in Nicaragua, so I can like put my Vitamix and not move it. Because after 11 years of like, and 31 programs and like moving this stuff from place to place and like moving into these resorts and then moving out, it's like a lot of energy, and I'm ready for the change.
Well, essentially, sometimes people don't think of safety and comfort as a top priority in the front of their mind. A lot of the times it's in the back of your mind, and kind of what you're saying for even yourself is that like, not that you felt unsafe, maybe you're uncomfortable in doing what you're doing, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, so for even yourself and the people that you're offering that environment makes a lot of sense. Okay, so
Mhm.
you mentioned the word transformation, and that's interesting because that's the next question. It kind of started out as what are some trends that you're noticing in your industry? But what we found with a lot of the people that we're talking to that come into the Veg Networking Canada ecosystem is either we hope or it is not a trend that's coming and going. It's more of a transformation, something that has changed or is changing. And so your industry in and of itself, especially the way that you just articulated it, is in and of itself a transformation. But with that being said, is there anything that you want to dive deeper on in terms of trends or transformations?
Well, I think what's really coming up, at least in the scope that I'm seeing, is well, gut health. Like gut health is really kind of popular, and also I would say like I'm a gut health, we'll say expert, or one down from expert. I'll say I'm a gut health expert. I do know a lot about it. I'm also a certified colon hydrotherapist, so I studied the digestive system very in depth. And I'm really stoked on how gut health is the foundation for overall health, and how the health of our gut ripples outwards to every single part of our body and our mind. So I feel like gut health is like the new thing that's going to be massive. If it isn't already, like if it is in my world already, I feel like it's like exploded, but I feel it's going to explode in like the trends of the world, because everywhere you look, all the science of now is saying that your mitochondria, or sorry, your microbiome, the microbiota, the variety of bacteria, yeast, molds, fungi, archaea that live inside your digestive system. Well, first of all, there's more than you. So there's more like microorganisms in your gut than human cells in your body. So first of all, there's that fact. And then the second fact is that it really directs so many biological processes, almost all of them. So from immunity, obviously digestion, but even like mental health. Like there's the gut brain axis through the vagus nerve. And I mean, the science is growing and growing and growing, but to me, it's so logical. And I've seen it for years. My mom always said I'm like before my time, but yeah, and it's always a marketing thing for me. It's like how to like get it out there. But yeah, gut health, and then this idea that like I really wanted to be on the side of the health vegan versus like let's like replicate fake meats that aren't necessarily healthy. So veganism in general, I think it's growing like exponentially. I said I've been vegan for 16 years. Back then it was like non-existent. Like you had to explain things so basically, like, oh, you mean you don't eat eggs? Like, no. You don't eat fish? Like, no, fish are not that's not a vegetable. So but now you can say vegan, people understand. Like even here in Nicaragua, like people understand the word vegan, even though it's like far from their own culture and diet. It's growing and growing and growing. And so I really want to be the one that's on the forefront of the building health, healing the body, versus like just making delicious, mouth-watering vegan food that isn't necessarily healthy. So that's super important to me. Mhm.
Yeah, maybe other people like myself have heard people refer to the gut as the second brain, but to your point, it's becoming more and more apparent that it's actually the leader. And like you said, the foundation, and if not like the first brain. Um,
Mhm.
very, very, very interesting. Okay, so we've had folks answer this next question from a personal lens. That's that what they've done in the past personally, and or what they've done through their business, what they've done in the past, are currently doing, or looking to do in the future. And of course, no right or wrong answers, but the question is centered around giving back and
Mhm.
charity. And what does
Mhm.
that mean to you?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I'm a super generous person, like already in general. Um, and to me, that just means kindness from my heart, not taking more than I need, it's sharing the extra. And so in a personal lens, like I'm always like, especially living in Nicaragua, like having multiple streams of revenue and being able to have a comfortable life here. It's humble, like I have a humble home and a humble, small little, space, but I'm able to employ my neighbors. And my kids play with like my child plays with their children on a regular basis. And so giving back to me means including the communities that are around you, like that are around me, including my neighbors, and getting to know people on a personal level. And then in that case, what I'm actually doing with Pachavega is a lot of the profits that come through my programs and things that I do, I give free cooking classes for local women in order to healthify the food that they make every day. So it doesn't deplete health, but it builds health. So there's this awesome dish called gallo pinto. It's like super popular. It's at any restaurant that you go to anywhere in Nicaragua. That's the basic gallo pinto. It's basically beans and rice, but it's usually like day old beans, day old rice. It's awesome. It's delicious with garlic, with red peppers and some onion and some spices. But they glug the inflammatory oils on it. They cook them in aluminum pans and then scrape off that aluminum and serve it on your plate. And yeah, and then there's like a ton of salt. They don't drink enough water, and so there's a lot of health issues in my community. Kidney problems is like one of the top issues. Is like all these people have kidney problems, and I'm like, why? How? And it's like, well, I got kidney problems. I'm like, what? That's not normal. But it becomes so normalized because it's so prolific that everyone has kidney problems, and then everyone just kind of like says it's like, oh, you got kidney problems too. So my goal is to, inspire women to change the way in which they're making this food, because they're serving it to everybody. They're serving it to their family. They may have restaurants. They're serving it to other foreigners, to travelers, and to themselves. And so, to make it also accessible to all, and not just like for the travelers or for the foreigners, but that it can be like interwoven into the cultural landscape that already exists. So definitely giving back to my community to me means allowing myself to teach the things that I believe are going to help people improve their lives. Invite people, first of all, like invite them, and when they're willing and on board and they join and they want to be there. So I've already worked with 15 women, 12 to 15 women, and these women work all over the island here where I live. So some of them work at higher end resort tourists. Other people have little local comedors. A couple of the women work at the Saturday market. And we did this 4-part series where it was like an entire day. So it was basically a full day training. So 4 times over the course of a couple months. And we learned how to make the food that they make all the time healthier. So instead of deep frying, the plantain, baking it, or instead of, yeah, like how to make rice without oil and salt. Like to them, it's like, you can make rice with just water. Like, yeah, isn't that amazing? Like 3 tablespoons of salt. It's like, no, you can make rice with water. So simple things like that to sort of yeah, spread the word and share. And some people come to me and they pay like a lot of money to learn from me, and then I am able to keep it all balanced by giving back to the local community in that way.
Amazing, amazing. And you said something really powerful too, which is just because something is common doesn't make it normal, which I think is pretty subtle but pretty powerful if people want to think on that. So what are some resources you'd recommend to business owners or entrepreneurs, whether that is your own resources, feel free, or maybe, you can think websites, documentaries, podcasts, books, and it might be something to do with gut health, mental health, veganism, leadership. how to be a public speaker, how to be a better teacher, who knows? But so the big question, like what are some
Wow.
resources that you could share with folks?
Wow, where to start? Well, like I honor the teachers that I've learned from. I mean, like I said, Ann Wigmore, some of the people that are doing really good work right now in my field, Dr. Michael Greger, T. Colin Campbell, Caldwell Estelson, um, eh, Dr. Neil Barnard, Joel Furman, these doctors that are kind of leading the way and paving the way for people to follow a whole foods plant-based diet. So that's really my focus, is like whole foods plant-based with like the high raw. The Santa Molina and Brenda Davis, two Canadians, they're registered dietitians, and they had influence in kind of changing the Canadian dietary guidelines to remove the words like meat and dairy and incorporate like protein rich foods. And so it became like my plate. So no longer does it say meat and dairy, it says high protein foods. So that's like a huge, massive change, because high protein foods can be plant. And some stuff in the sort of entrepreneurial space. I mean, Tony Robbins, like he's amazing. I love Tony Robbins. And people who inspire me to grow and to be better. And also, I really feel like what I'm doing is it's multidimensional. So it's not just like the food, even though that's like the space I started and that's where my expertise is. But I'm seeing the pattern of the people who come to learn from me, that if I'm not, talking about sleep and exercise and community connection and creativity, and if they're not paying attention to all these things in their lives, I see the gaps. There's still holes. So I think like personal growth, like myself, like I'm always working to personally grow. I'm trying to do less, think less, and be more present in the present moment, which is really hard, like especially as an entrepreneur who has like millions of ideas that never end. Um, and then yeah, like like kind of the serial entrepreneur. It's like I'm always making amazing programs. So I'm taking all this learning and I'm like distilling it in and finding like these commonalities that everybody's saying, and I'm distilling it, putting it to my own words, and then giving people like to do packages. So I have the 21-day gut reset challenge, which is basically a 21-day. I do it once a year guided, and then the rest of the time it's self-paced. But it's like a way in which it's a really easy way in which to practically see how to implement a whole foods plant-based diet. So I'm like, okay, you're going to prep 6 times in 21 days. Like, this is what you're going to make. This. Here are the recipes. Here is your schedule. Every day you have a to-do list. Sometimes that to-do list is dancing. Sometimes it's doing meditation. Sometimes it's yoga, but it's always something to do with reaching like your higher potential. And so it's taking care of the other little parts that are often forgotten. And then, I mean, my 30-day training, I've done it 31 times. It gets better and better and better every single time. And this last time that I just did it, I had like the women, like it's typically always women. It's not only for women, but that's just who ends up gravitating towards it. And a lot of my marketing materials, because it's usually women, they're women in the videos and the pictures. But I got really close with them, and they gave me some like real, like deep advice that, maybe other people haven't in the past. But like showing me ways in which to improve the program from a perspective that I never saw before. So like I'm really open to learning how to constantly improve. So constant growth and constant improvement, like never a final destination, because that is death to me. It's like the final destination is death. You're never going to get there until you're dead. So you might as well just keep constant improvement. Dr. William Bolsowitz, he's a gastroenterologist that's really blowing up in like the gut health space right now. And then even lesser known people that are doing really amazing things, like some of my students that have come out of my programs. They're working their butts off right now, doing like summits, gathering people, having really important conversations, growing their holistic businesses from the ground up. So like I am always supporting grassroots initiatives, like people that, are coming from like humble beginnings, because that's where I came from. And yeah, just like, I guess the idea is that there's always constant improvement. So yeah, and I'm not too analytical. So like I'm not like analyzing things. I'm just like I'm more feeling. I'm like, okay, I'll feel into it, and sort of there are some things that I could probably use help with, but as like an entrepreneur who's a solo entrepreneur, I'm kind of doing it all. And so my like least favorite and not as developed skill. Um, but yeah, I'm into like help motivating people, inspiring people to, yeah, like I said, bridge this gap between the healthy food that they know they need to eat and to make it super delicious so they want to eat it every day.
Awesome. There's a lot of overlap between the resources question as well as the follow-up, which is inspiration. What does that mean to you? I think maybe others listening feel like you actually combined them and answered them nice bothly. But with that being said, giving you the opportunity before we get to the last question, which is centered around sort of like lessons or advice, stuff like that. Is there anything more you want to touch on as it relates to inspiration?
Oh, that's a big question because I think like inspiration, first of all, there needs to be that internal spark. So like it needs to start within you. But as you know, as a one human being that has like one way, one existence and one experience of life, you know, I'm not going to know it all, see it all. And so being inspired by the people who push you further, but not trying to copy or emulate, uh, instead trying to pull like kind of what I do is like pulling like the best of the best to create something that's uniquely yours. And so that's what I teach my students to do. I always tell them my recipes are guidelines. You know, you can like tweak them and change them and make them your own. But yeah, I think when people can, you know, instead of like finding some guru and then just like attaching to that guru and doing what everything that that guru says, like take what you love about that guru and listen to other gurus and like put them together and find the common thread that resonates with your values, your personal values.
Take what you like and leave what you don't. Mm,
Yeah.
Forge your own path. That's great.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I guess, your mother's right. You're very ahead of your time. You're kind of like answering the next set question before we get to it. But this is the last question for you, and it is very open-ended, big question, like you said before. Do you have any advice, lessons, tips for business owners or entrepreneurs?
Start. Start messy, start dirty, start not knowing anything, do it anyways. That's the beginning because you're never going to know it all ever. Like even if you've been doing it for 10 years, 11 years like me. So if you have a dream and you have a vision, do it anyways because along that process of doing, you're going to be learning. And you'll probably learn what not to do and you will probably make mistakes, but that's how we grow. And like I said, I can't say if my life or experience with my business would have been any differently anyway, because this is how it is and this is how it's been done. But, I did a lot of stuff on my own. Like I never had a nest egg to start with. Like I started with zero and as I got $1, I spent it, and I still do that. And so it's like, we got to start somewhere. And then coming from that, the answer is never give up. Never give up because the people that become successful, become successful with luck, but most have worked so hard for so long that the people, when you see them, you see, they pop into the scene and you see this, but you don't see the 10, 15, 20 years of hard work that they've done. So it's like, oh, don't compare. That's another thing. Don't compare. Be uniquely you because you as a person and a human being have something unique to offer that nobody else can do. And so if you have an idea, also here's another thing is like get some trusty friends, get some people that value you and ask for their feedback, like talk about your ideas. Like I actually made a really big bad business move because I thought something was a good idea and I lost a massive opportunity And then I talked to my friend after, and then so it was basically, I did the Healthy Gut Summit, which is, I'm going to be launching here in 10 days. It's a free online conference that I interviewed 20 experts. So it's an incredible conference, the Healthy Gut Summit. The entire thing, we talked about gut health. At the end of it, I offered them the Freedom Philosophy Blueprint. And then everyone was like, what does that have to do with gut health? And 5 people bought it. If I would have offered them the 21-day gut reset challenge, like, why did I do that? I was kicking myself. My friend just told me, he's like, yeah, you got your gut challenge. Like, why didn't you give him that? I was like, oh my God, why are you telling me that now? It's over. I've lost the opportunity. So I'm relaunching it in 10 days with the idea that at the end of it, I'm going to offer them the 21-day gut reset challenge. But yeah, so find some confidants, find some people that you trust, that love you for who you are, and get their feedback. Don't pay attention to the naysayers. Don't listen to the negativity or the haters, because they just don't know what they're talking about. They also don't know you as a person. Yeah, so I don't get attached or like even bother like the haters. I just delete comments usually, or like just ignore them. Yeah, and go all in. Go all in with your ideas, with your passions. Start somewhere, just start anyways, and don't give up. Like, also, I will say about the giving up though, sometimes it's time to give up. Like at some point, it's like not making sense. But at that point, it's like, find your intuition. Like if the intuition or the inner voice is saying like, no, this is like really good. Like this is, and it keeps saying that. And even if you come up with like struggles, but inside you're saying like, this is still what I want to do, then that's when you don't give up. But if inside everything is saying like, oh my God, this is really dumb and I'm not enjoying myself at all, and those types of things. So finding the discernment when it is time to give up versus when you just want to keep going. Mm-hmm. And for me, the keeping going is when it happens all the time, like synchronistically. I'm thinking like, oh, like just in this example, it's like I only sold 5 spots to this program. Like that's really disappointing. Like I worked 3 months on it. Then literally the next day I'll get an email from someone and they'll say, your program has changed my life. They'll give me their life story and then they'll say like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, universe, I got you. I got your message, and then that's my reminder to keep going. And I get good feedback all the time. And so I'm listening to that feedback, and I'm again constantly trying to improve what I'm doing and to give something to people that really truly is going to help them. Mm-hmm.
Well, we absolutely love this conversation. And just to give you kind of an open-ended floor here at the end before we let everybody know your website and your Instagram, is there you've mentioned some announcements, feel free to mention those again, or if there's anything else along with in the conversation that we've had with each other today, if there's anything that you want to go back to, or maybe even anything that we missed.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like if you feel like this is the way that you want to live your life, like you can do it. Like you get to design your life the way you want it. Don't let other people design the only life that you have for yourself. So make the choices that align with your values. Do the things that spark joy and creativity in you, and yeah, go for it. And don't get discouraged by the setbacks, because that's just part of life. Like the river that flows around the rock. It's like the rocks are there, or the big waterfall that you gotta fall over, then keep the river going. So yeah, and then as far as what's coming up for me, like I said, the Healthy Gut Summit is really amazing. The 20 different experts that have come on board had really great interviews. Also, each one of these people offer like a free gift. So you get this free Gut Summit, but with a whole bunch of free gifts. And some of those free gifts are masterclasses, ebooks, coaching sessions. So it's really valuable. And then after that, the 21-day gut reset challenge, like I said, I only do it once a year. So I'm doing it in June. And that's an incredible program because it's really super hands-on practical and really good for families. And it's not difficult either. The difficult thing is sticking to it, like any online program, right? It's like, okay, I'm committing to an online program and I'm going to stick to it for 21 days. That's the only difficult part. The program itself is very fun and easy and enjoyable. And you get to play in the kitchen, and sometimes you're dancing, and sometimes you're doing yoga. Um, and yeah, and then every year I offer the 30-day raw food chef residency program here on the island of Ometepe in Nicaragua, and that twice a year, so January and November. However, the next one is going to be January 26th to February 24th, 2025. And it's an all-inclusive experience. So except for your flight, but we pick you up at the airport and like everything's covered through the entire experience. You become a certified raw food chef at the end and so much more. Like you can ask my students what they think about it. Like they come for what they think they're going to get and they get this. It is super enriching experience because we go deep. You know, people cry, people share vulnerable stories and big transformation happens. And this is what brings me the most joy. What I don't like is like, I mean, I have my online school, which I love and it's amazing, but when I get to connect one-on-one with people and like personally with people and see their transformations and see their barriers and their self like deprecating talk like break down, like that is what brings me joy. And so yeah, the invitation is to come study with me here in Nicaragua. I am also doing a surf retreat, which I am not a surfer, but I'm doing a surf and wellness retreat with the Olympian. She's a vegan Olympian, Julia Murray, based out of Whistler, BC. So she's also a holistic registered nutritionist. So her and I are co-hosting a retreat here in Nicaragua in 2 weeks, and we still have spots. So if you want some adventure and you want to come to Nicaragua, it's beautiful, the beach, bikini weather, like amazing. We're going to do all kinds of other things besides surfing. So there's yoga, there's breath work. We're going to make bracelets. We're going to do beach cleanup. We're going to go on a tour of Mombacho, which is an active volcano. So yeah, this is also in alignment with my life, of my adventurous life. I'll tell you a little quick story about my personal life. I've traveled to over 35 countries. So I've traveled all over the world and I had so many diverse experiences. Like I said, I was a cave guide for 4 years, which was amazing. Also on the BC Alberta Cave Rescue Team. So that was a super cool experience. But my offerings are fused with adventure as well. So there's like a bit of adventure, you know, probably get a bit dirty. Maybe we wear bare feet in the kitchen. So that's the kind of vibe that I'm offering. And yeah, I would hope that people come and join me.
Well, everybody, you can find out more online, pachavega.com, Pachavega, pachavega.com, and it's the same on Instagram at Pachavega. Thank you, everybody who was listening to this episode of Veg Networking Canada. Thank you for your time, everybody who's here with us live. And of course, we had a great conversation today with the founder of Pachavega Living Foods Education, Danielle Arsenault. Thank you for being here with us. And everybody, will catch you soon on another episode. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you.